Hello, my name is Michael Lee of the Source Code Group, and today I want to talk about some design thoughts and decisions around what we're going to do with this merge label on branches. So just as for background context, in the past with branches, we used to have something like this where we would list all the branches and we would have a button to create a new merge request. And if a branch was merged with a merge request or a branch using Git commands directly, they would have this merge label. And recently we made this change to remove that label in favor of surfacing the correct state of the merge request itself on the right-hand side. So in this case here, this branch has been merged with merge request 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this feature branch here could have been merged manually using command lines, but there's no label here. And this has come up in the scenario of the delete merged branches functionality, where both of these branches would be deleted, but it's not very clear that this would be deleted because there's no label there. So the question is, should we bring back the label? If we brought back the label, it would look something like this, right? So we have a state here where it's merged with a merge request, that's obvious. And in this case here, this branch would also be labeled merged because it is all its changes have been committed, and the default branch has this the latest commit from this branch contained in it. So from that logic, we can determine that that's merged. The interesting part with this logic is that if I created a merge request, if I created a branch and I left the branch for a while and there's new changes on the default branch, so that means the default branch is now ahead. And my branch itself is behind the default branch. So I'm behind one commit here. This calculation would determine that this branch has been in fact merged, despite the fact that I did not create any commits or do anything with the branch. So when I run the delete merged branches command by clicking that button in the top right, 3 of these branches would be deleted, and that's not really what I want to happen, right? There could be work here that I was planning to start and work on, but it would be deleted, and I'll be wondering why. When looking at the merge label, one thing that should be highlighted is that the key field to look at here potentially is the commits ahead. So in this scenario, 3 of these branches are all 0, and all of them represent different states. This one is 0 because it's merged with a merge request. 0 because it's been merged with a proper via Git commands or manually. And this one is an empty diff, and that represents a scenario that is going to be hard for us to detect without adding extra tracking to see whether something was merged manually or not. So I want to explore the idea of handling deletes, multiple deletes of branches, leveraging the commits ahead instead of leveraging the merged label. The other problem with the delete merge branches is that you don't have control. What I mean you don't have control is that it will delete all merge branches across your entire repository. Whether you see them in the filter view or not, it will be deleted. And we went through a lot of work to kind of make this flow as high friction as possible to kind of get that awareness. One idea we had was to surface all the branches that would be deleted, but that's be hard to detect to do the calculation on every single branch on large repositories. So we opted to go with a simpler approach to say that we're going to delete everything, and yeah, you can't see what's going to be deleted, and you just hope that it's going to be all the branches you want and not a branch with an empty diff, right? So 80% of the time, 90% of the time, it should work fine, but there could be a chance of data loss in the case of an empty diff. So let me go through the scenario of how this might work if we moved away from the idea of delete merged branches and think of it more as a bulk action. So this is how the screen would look like if we did add the merged labels back in. But like I said, I want to explore this flow without these things. So I would remove them and replace that with an updated filter, updated sorts. So at the moment, we only have updated date and name as things you can sort on. But by moving this up with certain patterns of also allowing you to select ascending and descending here, we can add more fields in here. And one of those fields that I think we should add is commits ahead. So if I went ahead and selected commits ahead, and as well change the order from descending to ascending, we can actually isolate all the branches that have 0 commits ahead. So that's good for those trying to manage their branches and to see what branches have been up to date, all merged, or have all changes in the default branch but haven't been deleted. So I have all these 3 branches here, 1, 2, 3. And the next thing that we can introduce is delete multiple branches. Click on that, invokes a view that allows you to select more than 1 or more branches. In this scenario here, what we want to do is just ensure that all these things are disabled so that we can't change the list. But here I can select 1, 2, because I don't want to delete my empty branch. And this gives you the control that would be useful to manage bulk actions with confidence. So we can have 1, 2 branches selected here. And if I click delete branches here, we have all the references and the branches. So potentially we could surface them in the modal. If this is paginated, this view would stay there. So the idea that the context would be maintained, so we can add more to this list. And once that's deleted, we go back into this state here. So now we have whether we go back to this state or a state with 0 selected branches, and you have to click X to close. That's a detail that we can refine over time. But this hopefully gives you an idea of how we might be able to deal with the empty diff as well as merged with git commands or merge requests, and generally more control over our branches. One observation from here is that now we're adding a lot more to the top area here. I think this can live as is for now for large screens, but smaller screens is going to get really tight. So there is a piece of work that's being explored where it's taking a look at restructuring the branches page to use patterns around filtering and sorting that are established in other areas such as merge requests and issues. And here's an example of how that might look like. We have our branches here. The overview currently just shows active and stale lists. So if we default to active branches, we could potentially not have to retrieve the stale branches all the time. And to access that, you can just quickly go through the drop-down to select it. It is an extra click to get to the stale, but this pattern allows us to enhance more functionality with our branches, such as filtering on your branches, which is something that has come up in the past. So instead of adding another tab at the top here, we could introduce more options in the drop-down while keeping the UI kind of same and consistent. Yeah, so let me know what you think about handling the merge state with dealing with commits ahead. I understand that this is kind of a big change in that you're used to looking for a merge label, but now you're going to be looking somewhere else. But I feel like this flow gives the user much more control of what they want to do versus clicking on a magical button and hoping it deletes the branches that they want and not the ones that they didn't even know about. Thank you very much.